Hey, everybody, and welcome to your next. I'm your host, Jerome. We're on the East Coast today. We've been in Canada, we've been overseas, and now we're in Atlanta, Georgia with my man, Josh Mastel. Josh, how does the world find you today, man?
Good. I've had a full scheduled morning, so this is a nice fun break to my day. But I'm
Now,
full of energy and well, actually, I have a 2-year-old daughter at the house, 1-year-old son, and the first thing my 2-year-old told me this morning was that my pants were too tight and my shoes were ugly. So that's how my day started, so it could only get better from there.
wow. Well, at least they care about your appearance, right?
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Some people will let you walk around with food in your teeth.
Exactly
So,
right. Sometimes you gotta get smacked right in the face first thing in the morning just to remember that's a rough world out there.
did it make you change your clothes?
No, I'm not gonna give her that win. Are you kidding me?
So, all right, we talked about Chicago, right? So you're a Chicago guy? Is that how it works?
Yeah, yep. I was actually born in North Dakota, but as a child, we moved to Chicago area. I'm a Chicago suburb guy. I lived downtown for a while though.
Sounds cold.
Oh, that is. You don't miss those winters.
Yeah, but I guess the summers in Atlanta are probably unbearable too. So everybody's got their weather challenges.
Yep.
Man, I was looking at your profile on LinkedIn and you've got a huge footprint, man. Like almost 30,000 folks. And that's kind of rare these days. I see not many people building that personal brand. Is that an intentional thing, or that just kind of happened because there was a viral moment and a bunch of people just jumped on the bandwagon and wanted to be connected to Josh?
Yeah, I probably had a couple viral moments in the past. I used to be a lot more active, putting out a lot of content, writing articles, putting out videos and stuff. I've just been doing that for a long time. I'm passionate about a few topics, sales being one of them. It's just a world that I'm in so much. And I kind of have um, I have a passion for like younger people, like young professionals. So I post a lot of things that are I think helpful to people. I kind of type sometimes like I'm talking to my 24-year-old self, and I wish I would have heard that when I was 24. So I just post a lot. I think over time it has grown a bit.
I usually like to open up the show by saying, "Hey, you had an exit, and of course you did. You, you said a small one, but like many people think like that's the end all be all. That's the whole game. You don't strike me as a person that thinks that way, and we haven't had a conversation before that. So I'm assuming that, but I mean, you have the opportunity to correct me if I'm completely wrong on that. So, like, can we talk about the exit a little bit and what it actually means in your world?
Yeah, I think what you said is actually really wise. You're right. I think most people that go down an entrepreneurial path say, I'm going to go build something and I'm going to have this moment in time where I exit it and now I'm a billionaire and now I get to go off and do whatever I want to do. And of course, that sounds attractive. It just doesn't always work that way. It's not most of the times it doesn't work that way. Um, so yeah, I had a small little sales consulting company that I built. Brought a partner into that. And really, it's funny because the word exit to me in that business was I fell out of love with that business. I just didn't, it was not bringing me energy. It was taking energy from me. It wasn't something that I loved to do. So my exit there literally was more of I'm exiting from my time being spent here to an area that I want to spend more time as opposed to I'm exiting a multimillionaire and now I don't have to work anymore. So it's kind of two different ways to look at that.
Well, it's funny because when I think about the exit, it's just getting or leaving any business, right? It's not always, hey, I'm work optional now.
Agreed.
Although some people are, and I think there's only really three ways out of a business. And I actually debate with people when we do live workshops. I'm like, hey, does everybody believe 100% of founders are going to exit their business? Because if we don't agree on that, then this conversation is irrelevant. And the answer is yes. I mean, people are like, oh no, they like to throw. Well, if I die, then I won't exit. It's like, well, somebody's still going to have to do one of these three things. They're either going to sell it, they're going to close it, or they're going to give it to somebody else. And so once we get on the same page there, like the conversation tends to flow. But this thought that like once you start a business, like it's going to end at some point.
Yep.
And I don't think everybody gets that, and I know that they don't get the fact that like it's not guaranteed that people are going to be lined up to buy it, right? And if you don't love the business, the value of the business is likely lower than what you wanted to be. It's likely not throwing off the income you wanted to throw off. And all of those things lead to a decision point where you have to make a choice on whether or not you're going to keep going or not. And that's what it sounds like happened with yours. We've been playing with this concept called descent, and it's like these are the things that happen as you get to the point of the summit and then trying to figure out how to come back down.
Hmm.
I think most people think about a business as a marathon, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna run through the finish line and then I'm gonna get relief and I could just rest and do nothing, and the billionaire lifestyle that you described. What I find for most people is that's not reality. Like they haven't taken 6 days off. So taking 6 months off is kind of crazy to think that they could actually live that life just because they get bored, right?
Yep.
And so you talked about, hey, like I wasn't really loving the business anymore. When we think about this descent framework, there's this estrangement where like you begin to separate from the role emotionally. So were you like really in like when you started the business, was it like, oh man, this is going to be amazing? And then over time you got to the place just like, yeah, this is taking energy from me, not bringing it.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember when that kind of I mean, obviously, when you start something, you know, that's a big sacrifice, right? I had a really cozy job making really, really great money and left all of that, cashed out 401k, cashed out savings accounts. And my wife and I at the time, we both started businesses at the same time, leaving that situation. So we went from life was really easy, kind of cruise control job, making really good money, to let's go figure something out. And we both started different.
Why? Why would you do that, Josh? You were on easy street. Like you just cruise, baby. Why would you do
I
that?
just try to avoid easy street. And then my advice to every human being is if you're on easy street, you're in for a life of trouble.
Really?
I think so.
Where did that philosophy come from?
One of my favorite quotes in the world is do what is hard and your life will be easy. Do what is easy and your life will be hard.
Wow. Who is that? Seneca? Who is that?
I don't know. I don't know who said it, but I'm going to claim it if someone doesn't claim it soon. I actually think I heard it from Jesse Itzler in a speech once, but I don't know if he was quoting someone else. But it is, I think, if you study Tony Robbins, and I think he's obviously a name out there that I've learned a lot from over my life, but the key to happiness really in life, no matter what you're doing, is progress. It's growth. And when you're cruising, it's hard to grow. And I just kind of realized one day I'm not growing. My next challenge is starting and building something of my own.
Now, I got a lot of people that run financial services firms that listen to the podcast. And you said cashed out 401ks. Like you really like sold your assets so that you had
Make payroll.
liquidity so that you could go do this?
Yeah. Every dollar.
Their stomach is churning. They're like,
I'm
"Oh my
sure.
God, how could you do that?"
Yeah.
Um, and I don't think most people realize what founders actually do in order to get to the place where the thing is flourishing and thriving. They don't realize the sacrifices, and I put quotes around that because I don't really think they're sacrifices that people make. They're just choices in
Yep.
order to keep the thing afloat. And so you said you had to make payroll, so you cashed it out. Is that what happened?
100%. Yeah, dude. I mean, um, there's no other option. I think there's something to be said for that. When your back's against the wall, you'd be surprised what you can accomplish. But if you don't put yourself in situations where your back is against the wall, you don't really know what you can accomplish. So that was a back against the wall situation for sure.
Wow. Wow. So the courage to bet on yourself, did that start young?
Um, I've always been a confident I was always a confident kid. I always knew I had, some gifts of like communication, ability to connect with people. I have a kind of a funny story though. I got into, so like if you kind of look back from now, in our business now, I lead the sales operation here, and we run $100 million revenue company with a really badass sales team. I had a sales consulting company that we did pretty well, made some big impacts, did some cool things. It's like sales is my specialty. It's like this is what we do. If you rewind back to my first job out of college, I got fired from that job as a salesperson. So to tie what you're saying, I always had this talent. I knew it, and I kind of coasted through life on that. Like I kind of butter up with the teacher in college at the class I wasn't passing and get a C or a B. And then I got smacked in the face when the real world came. And they're like, well, that's great. But a lot of people have these natural skills. You got to deploy a lot of other things to be successful. So that kind of rock bottom moment for me in my early 20s was like super special to learn that. So I think that after that is when I started to learn. Now I have some confidence when I came out of that hole and really started building some success in other areas.
So you saw rock bottom as being fired when you were just getting started.
Yeah, it's the first time I failed my whole life. Like, I was a good athlete. I was good in school. I was a good kid. I never got in trouble. Like life was kind of, a little bit easy for me in terms of those measurements. So that was the first time I had a big slice of humble pie.
Now, I think, is it true that you moved out at 16?
Yeah, yeah. So, kind of a dirty, family household growing up. Good intended parents, great people. I'm very close to them now, but just a really ugly situation growing up. And my older brother, we were both like, we got out of this environment. So we moved out. He was kind of like a, dad to me. We got our first apartment and I was 16. He was 20. Um, Fast forward 2 years, another kind of rock bottom moment that taught me a lot about life. We lost him in a car accident. So when I was 18, he was 22. We were living together in that apartment. He was like my rock. He's like, I learned everything from. So like that story mixed with failing at 23, 24 for the first time is literally who made me who I am today. And that's where going back to your earlier question about doing hard things, going through hard things. If I look back at my life and those two things didn't happen to me, I would not be the person I am today.
So one of my favorite word is resilience. Does
Mm,
that resonate for you?
100%. 100%. Yeah. I mean, if you're, I mean, if you're going to do anything worthwhile, that path is uphill in anything in life. And if you don't have resilience, you quit after the first mile.
So you mentioned Jesse. So are you like a ultra marathoner guy? Like, is that part of the game?
I've done a triathlon. I do a lot of really crazy challenges, but not the ultra marathon world. I hate running
I'm
so bad that I couldn't, I don't want, don't want to say I couldn't do it. I don't want to do it.
I don't think anybody actually wants to do
Exactly right.
it. I was getting interviewed by David Goggins' brother yesterday on his podcast, and I didn't say anything about it. It didn't connect for me until after the fact. And I'm sitting in a massage chair last night. I'm like, oh, like there's not a whole lot of people with that last name. I looked it up. He didn't say anything. I was like, oh,
Oh,
that's
interesting.
David's brother. And so like we kind of end up on this. But you said challenges. So I'm getting ready to do this thing called a warrior run. What kind of challenges do you do?
So I've actually done, so David Goggins does a challenge every year called the 4x4x48. I did that a few years back. It's basically you run 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. So on the top of the 4 hour, you got to run 4 miles, then you got to go again, and you do it for 2 straight days. It was miserable. Hated it, but that was an example of one. I've done 75 hard a couple times. Like that's one I recommend to a lot of people. That's a really good physical and mental discipline challenge.
Wow. Yeah, I wouldn't stop running if I ran 4 miles every hour. Like I don't
Well, it's
run
every
that
4 hours. So
fast.
you do get, so if the 4 hours takes you an hour, you get a 3 hour break and then you got to do it again.
Oh,
So
okay, okay,
the
okay.
the hard part about that is
You can't sleep.
the ones during the middle of the night. So the midnight shift. So you go at 12 a.m., 4 a.m., 8 a.m., noon. You know, you have a decision to make after the 12 a.m. run. Do I go to bed because I'm tired? The problem with going to bed is if you've ever slept for 3 hours before, the second you close your eyes, those eyes are up. It's time.
Yeah.
Where you kind of want to feel like you're taking a break between runs. So the temptation is to stay awake.
Does that feel like the entrepreneurial journey for you?
Huh. Yeah. I mean, you know, life is about a lot, the decisions you make. And I agree with what you're saying about it's not sacrifices. It's you, what decisions do you want to make? And really, I kind of boil life pretty simply. It's like, what do you want? Okay. If you clearly define what you want as an entrepreneur, as a dad, as a whatever it is, well, there's a recipe for that anywhere on the internet. Anything you want to accomplish, there's a way to accomplish that. Now you have to decide, do you want to do the recipe or not? So it's a decision, right? So it's kind of the same thing back to 4 by 40, 80, 4 by 48. It's like, okay, do you really want to finish this thing? Well, if you're really committed to it, well, this is what it is. Like there's going to be times that it sucks, but there's no do I do it or not because you've already made the decision that this is what I'm doing.
It's the price of admission, and you already have the decision made. Like it's just
Exactly.
following through. I was talking to somebody yesterday. She was doing this thing we have called the Next Intensive, and she was like, "Yeah, I don't follow through." And I was like, "Are you sure?" Because like she ran a big company at one point, and she helped lead some startups. I was like, "What do you mean you don't follow through?" She was like, "Ah, da, 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 da." And she ran down this line. I was like, "I don't think that's accurate. I just think you didn't get the outcome that you wanted to get when you started. And so then you say you're not following through because it didn't work out as you had planned for it to work out." Um, and she had
Mm.
to sit with that a little bit. But I just find that people who actually are successful, they're just willing to endure. They're willing to be resilient. There was a post from like Alex Hermosi or something yesterday. It was like, you just have to be the last man standing sometimes, right?
It's outweather the storm.
It, and it's crazy in the world that we live in today because like I was thinking about tariffs, right? And I was doing a session for Vistage, and there was one guy in the room who he imported everything, and the 100% tariffs made all of his contracts negative, right? He was paying in order to deliver product to his clients, and more than likely he went out of business last year. And then to find out that the tariffs were illegal is just like there's no undo button. Like he doesn't get a redo on that.
Yeah.
If he was able to last through, right, when things went down or things changed or the countries changed, then he would make it through. And for me, this showed up in a lot in private equity with real estate. It's just like if you can make it through COVID or if you can make it through the tax season, like if you could just make it through to the other side, that light at the end of the tunnel is the game. Um, I gotta ask, man, because you're the first person to set it, and I know other people do it, but you're the first person to set it on a recording. What were you thinking when you cashed out the 401k?
Well, this better work for one. This better work. But honestly, you know what? That sounds cool to say, and of course I said that. But I tell this to a lot of people. I was already very successful. Like I had a skill set that a company was paying me a lot of money for. So there was a little bit of a safety net knowing, okay, if this went completely belly up, worst case scenario in the world is I go get another really high paying job. Like you can take my business from me. You can empty my bank accounts. You can take everything from me, but you can't take what I've learned, my knowledge. You can't take that from me. I can still go deploy that whenever I want. So that made it a little bit less risky to me.
Mm. So the skills that you developed made you as a person valuable. You weren't valuable because of what was in you an account.
Yes.
It's
Yeah. I knew I
your
could go
ability.
replicate what I'd already done if I had to.
Okay. And so I don't know what revenue was then, right? But you mentioned like $100 million ARR. Like I don't think most people can count that high. Like, I start getting in trouble when I run out of fingers and toes. So
Yeah.
like you said it so cavalier. It's just like, oh, boom. And I imagine you guys grew fast because the company hasn't been around for an extremely long
Yeah,
time.
we'll be celebrating our 10-year anniversary next year.
Okay. So you told me you could sell, but is it possible just to be able to sell that much? Like, is that because I mean, there's somebody out there like Josh. I've been doing this thing 30 years, man. I'm doing 1.5 million, and you're like 100x on me. Like, there's got to be
No.
something there.
Well, I mean, I think there's really kind of two businesses, like the person listening that's got a business that's doing 1.5 million and he's got 3 employees and there's good profitability there. There's a lifestyle business there that's amazing. And there's a lot of lifestyle businesses in this country. Matter of fact, most of the revenue generated by the United States is from people with one employee, two play. It's like that's a great thing. It's all about what you want. Like, we could have done that. We could have said, let's just get to 3, 5 million, very few employees, super profitable. We just kind of had a bigger dreams and ambitions and a bigger vision for what we wanted to do. So really, to get to that level, we have a great team around us. We hire amazing people. We train them really well. We hold them very accountable. We have a great culture. It's like a lot of other things in the stew becomes important to get to that size that we definitely couldn't have done on our own. I'd love to meet the person that got to 100 million on their own. Probably some tech genius that creates some crazy software. But AI is going to help a lot of people do that. But in our business in particular, it'd be impossible with one or two people.
So, did you start this after you exited the first one with your partner?
No, so what the story is, when I started that sales consulting company, my wife and I, we met at our last company in this industry that we're in now. We were in that business. I was running a big region in that company. She was a top sales rep in that company. We were dating, ended up getting married. We both left at the same time. I needed a break from the industry because that's all I've been doing for, 10 years. She started this company right now that we're running. I started that sales consulting company. So we are kind of building from the ground up at the same time. I got rid of that and then came and joined her. She's a stud.
The two come together,
Exactly right.
and then the curve is exponential on the backside of that, I would guess.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely helped a lot because now we have two people that are like-minded, same ambition, same drive, working together. I don't want to take any credit away from her of what she built. I mean, she built this thing from the ground up to 100 million out of a spare bedroom in our house. One person to what it is today. I'm just a part of that puzzle that came in halfway down that journey, but it's pretty incredible.
Wow. So, like, what's the actual product? Like, what are you guys selling?
So we sell IT, technology services. So think we help companies, either find the right talent they need to think big enterprise, giant, Fortune 500 companies. We come in and help them find the talent they need to achieve their technology initiatives. Now, obviously, with AI being such a big target right now, we have AI services that we're coaching and training and teaching them how to implement AI to maximize everything they're trying to do on the technology side.
So, staffing and kind of like staff augmentation, that type of space where you're placing talent and you're harnessing technology so you guys don't get wiped out with whatever technology can replace in the industry, or you're
100%.
helping technology replace some of those roles in the industry.
100%. Or giving really the answer, this whole AI topic. I've been in AI meetings all day this morning. I nerd out over it. It's really, people aren't going to go away. The doomsday is technology is going to replace us all. Sure, that's coming from the people creating the technology. So filter your message, right? Um, People who use technology well are going to be 10x people who don't use technology. So the people who choose to use the AI, that is going to be the game changer as opposed to people who resist it.
Yeah, I think the cat's out the bag, right? Like the
Hmm.
toothpaste is out of the tube. It's not
It's
going
not going
back
back.
in and resisting it. it's kind of futile. I see a lot of people just completely relying on it and having no real like sauce. They're not putting any sauce on the thing. They're just like whatever comes out, it is, and
Mhm.
they're not making it their own.
Well, I heard some data points this morning, and I don't know the exact data points, but you know how we always talk about the what social media did to the younger generation. You know, the crew of people younger than us, right? It's just completely, their brains are completely different than they were if we had grown up with Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat. These these language models, ChatGPT, it's significantly worse than social media because what's happening is it's degrading people's ability to critically think. To your point, AI wrote this email for me. It must be perfect. No, 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 no. Like it's a part of the machine to make it faster for you and better, but the human needs to prompt it and the human needs to make sure it's good on the back end. And people are losing that critical thinking skill, which is scary.
Yeah, and even like the strategy piece of it, like here's the direction we need to go. Like it's going to be agreeable, right? It's just like, oh yeah, well yeah, that's a great idea. It could be the dumbest idea in the world, but it's like, oh, let me help you further the dumbest.
100%. It's programmed actually, and there's been papers on this. It's ChatGPT, for example, is programmed to make you feel smarter so that you come back and use it more, just like social media, because you're paying for coins. Like you're paying for usage. So it wants you coming back thinking, oh man, I'm getting really smart. I'm getting really good at this. What it's giving you, is it really that great? You have to still decide that as the human.
This is interesting for me. So uh, a question popped up that I've got to ask, man. So you you exited the other company, you joined the current company. What'd you learn in going through that experience of the exit?
Hmm.
Like, I think the hindsight is 2020, and like, most people aren't able to actually sell their piece. So, like, what'd you get out of it?
So, biggest learning lesson for me is that, and I still live my life this way, you got one life and you can easily get sucked into um, giving away big chapters of your life to some cause, whether that's a business, relationship, whatever that may be. And if you don't step back and think often, hey, is this thing serving me? Like, is this thing that I'm doing giving me energy, making me happier, allowing me to do the things that are more important than money that I care about? Then you need to get out. And so the learning lesson to me was I probably would have got out earlier because is there a couple years there that I was just not, I knew I wasn't happy. I didn't love it, but I just had to keep it going. Um, the person I sold it to, that, my partner that I had there he basically took it all over. They're doing great. It's growing, it's doing well, and like it's better suited for someone that's more passionate about that topic that's doing that thing. So me removing myself helped it. So I think that's the key is you can't be victim to the thing you built. You are the thing that you built and you're in control.
I watch so many people become slaves to their company, and I'm like, the business is supposed to work for you. You're not supposed to work for the business. And they kind of look at me and tilt their head. They're like, what are you talking about? Like, I give everything to the business. The business is everything for me. I'm like, that's not the way it's supposed to work.
Totally agree.
You said something there that really piqued my interest. You said basically like you've got one shot at this thing, right? You need to live it out the way you want to live it out. But you juxtapose that with we should do hard things. Because most people wouldn't be happy running 4x48 or like I can't remember the exact words, right? But like 4x48 is really hard. They wouldn't say that that would make them happy. Is there some wisdom that you found in like the hard things and happy? Is it just a frame that hard things are good? Like what is
Yeah, I
the
think
thread?
it's anyone listening to this, that's if you think about the most proud thing that you've ever done, whether that's, hey, you lost a bunch of weight, you committed to this marathon with your friend and you did it, you had that hard conversation with that person that you knew you needed to have, but you've been holding it off for 2 years and now you have this amazing relationship, whatever the thing is. That conversation was hard. That marathon was hard. But the feeling you got when it was done is 10 times better than how hard the conversation was or the thing was. So that to me is that there's a discipline part of do these hard things because the reward is better than the hard is hard.
It makes me think of the quote that goes something like, "If the why is big enough, then the hows don't matter." Um, this is
I thought you were just gonna quote the quote I said earlier and try to take it from me.
well, I usually wait till the person's not around,
I love
and
it.
then
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And on that topic of the why, man, I think this in context here, it's like I just had kids. We started having kids a couple years ago. So I have a 2-year-old daughter, who I talked about earlier, and a 1-year-old son. And I hate all the cheesy parent advice. I don't know if you have kids or not, but the cheesy parent advice is going to change your life. Like I used to make fun of those people. Like whatever, dude. Like I hated that same blah 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 advice everyone gives about being a parent. But what I will say is kids and other things in life help you kind of reevaluate priorities. So in my life, as much as I love building something, becoming successful, we got big ambitions we want to accomplish. The number one thing in my life that's important to me is being the best dad on the planet. Number one.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Then it's being the best spouse on the planet. I want to have a healthy relate. I want to be 90 years old with my wife because so few people get to experience that. And then number three is being a great leader and business owner. So like if you prioritize, now you have a filter to be like, okay, I got a decision to make today. Should I do A or B? Well, if it's a work related thing, it's not going to get in the way of me being a dad. So I think that makes life a little easier to prioritize what's important and not let your business run you.
It's alignment, and
Yeah,
I just
alignment.
find so few people actually state what their priorities are and then make decisions in alignment with the priorities. Like the submission, right? Here's the mission. I'm gonna be a great dad. I'm gonna be a great husband. I'm gonna be a great business leader, in that order.
In that order.
And if I'm not doing doing it in that order, I've made commitments to the kids, the wife, and the business so that people can pull me up on it and ask me, well, did your priorities change? Those conversations aren't fun.
Yeah, of course. And listen, super easy for me to say on this in this conversation. Do I always execute that perfectly? Of course not. But if you constantly remind yourself of that, that's hard to pull off, right? I mean, I also am really passionate about my health. Like in that list of priorities, somewhere is I want to live, enjoy life, and be here a long time. So I take really good care of my health. And you know, I heard a CEO speak one time, big brand name, and I forget the name who he was from, but he was like, he was recently divorced. He goes, "What I've learned is you can be great at like two things in life, maybe. You can be good at tons of stuff.
Yeah.
If you want to be great." So I wasn't a great dad and husband. I'm a great CEO. I just went through a divorce. So it's like you got to pick what are the things you want to be great at, and you got to be okay with the rest being good because you can't be great at all of them.
I watch so many people optimize for money. Um, and I'm not going to pretend like money doesn't matter, right? But money guides every decision that they make, whether it's to do something or not to do something, whether it's I'm going to go to the kids' game or I'm going to do one more sales call. Like money is a factor in every decision. And about 10 years ago, I said, what if we removed money from the decision matrix and then did what we thought was the best thing to do?
Hmm.
What would happen? It changed everything, man. It changed absolutely everything for me.
Tell me more.
And
Like what, in what regard? What big decisions were different?
so I think a good example would be, do you do you go on the trip that you actually want to go on, or do you dumb it down? For instance, last year spring break, um, the trip was to Puerto Rico. It could have been to grandparents' house, as an example. Not to say that going to grandparents' house for spring break, there's anything wrong with it, but I live for the remember when with my kids, right? They're 13 and 16. Girls, they're it's like they're impossible to impress right now. Like they're unimpressed. Like that's my description of them. They're unimpressed,
I'll
right?
be calling you
And
for
so,
advice in about 7 years. I'm gonna
bro,
need that.
listen, like it was perfect, and then like they're unimpressed. So we're having a conversation over the weekend, and little sister asked big sister, like, what's been your favorite trip? Like, what's been your favorite one? She's like, is it still Montana? We did Yellowstone. She's like, no, Puerto Rico. And little sister was going on and on about food in Hawaii, right? She's like, that was the best pizza. That was the best this. That was the best that. And big sister was unimpressed with Hawaii. She was like, we could have just went to the beach in North Carolina. She said that on the beach in Hawaii. I was just like, I wish I would have saved my money, right? But she had the experience. But back to Puerto Rico, she was like, yeah, Puerto Rico is my favorite trip. You know, I got to go snorkeling. I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do that. And for me, like, it's not about the number of memories, it's the core memories, the ones that they'll remember for the rest of their life. And if I would have, we just would have went to grandparents' house and ate and drove go-karts and whatever else, something that they could have kind of done whenever, like it's just like a function of being in that space. I don't think that conversation would have been the same. And there may be some people that are like, hey, you're not prioritizing this, that, or the third. And I get it. And, you know, I'm sensitive to grandparents because like I've never really had a great relationship. Like I don't know either one of my grandfathers and like my grandmothers, like my parents, like there was just a gap, right? There
Yeah.
like they weren't like pillars in my life like some people where they're like, oh man, my grandma, my grandpa, they were everything. They made a difference. Like that wasn't my experience, and so I'm a little numb to that. But I want that for them, right?
For
Like
sure.
I love when my parents just celebrated 46
It's
years
awesome.
of marriage, right? And it's like, man, I don't think I'll ever make it to 46 years of marriage. I just don't think there's enough time for me to get there. But my kids get to see that, right? My kids get to see the interest in their activities from their grandparents, showing up at games and recitals and whatever else. But that I've been seeking to remember when. So the trip is an example.
It's
I
awesome.
think another example would be like, and it do you go hiking, right? Or do you go spend a ton of money on a concert as an example? This is another one. It's like, oh, well, some people would say the concert's a better thing. Well, for me and the kids in particular, like when they were small, we would go explore the woods. Like we would just go and venture off and find things in the woods. And that's one of those core memories. And so for me, like the thought of I got to go do this thing versus that thing because of money, because it's going to sound better to somebody I'm trying to impress about how great my life is, it's out of it, right? The free thing is going to bring more for us because of the link back to early childhood and the thought of being free and exploring and being willing to go off of the path, right?
Yeah.
And not just follow the things that are already there. So, you know, just kind of two examples of like choosing not to spend as much as possible
For
because
sure.
money's not the deciding factor. And then it's probably spending more than I should have for that trip, but knowing that, you know, I've only really got, you know, five more of those, right?
Yeah.
Because when they're out the house, like I've only got two more with the big one because when she's out the house, I don't think she's going to come back to go with her little sister unless, you know, I can make it cool enough where she's
Yeah.
impressed that she
Yeah.
wants to come do it, right?
Let me ask you
So
this.
it's,
Are you tight with your parents? Are you close to your parents?
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah,
you
yeah,
love hanging out with them, you respect them?
yeah, yeah.
So I've had this thought recently that I'm living every day of my life for when I'm going to peak when I'm 70. This sounds crazy. Hear me out. So, to me, and this will tie into some of the money thing you're talking about. To me, the most successful people on the planet are people who are 70. They can still move. They're wise as hell. And their grown-up kids want to hang out with them still. Thanksgiving is full of kids and grandkids. They maybe have the yacht or the house in Italy or whatever. People want to go visit them. Those people win. I know tons of rich people, older, who their kids want nothing to do with them. And now you got all this money and no one wants to hang out with you. So to your point, I think it's easy to say, I want to keep my daughter happy. Here's a new car. I'm going to spend my money on this new car because I want you to love daddy. Well, I'd rather spend that money on let's go make a memory because I want to do this with you for the next 60 years of my life. Yeah. So like that really wise what you said there. I love it. It's kind of like I'm thinking about life that way right now.
Yeah, I read Bill Perkins' book, Die with Zero, and it was part of that transformation for me, right? Because it's like, yeah, I could give them extra $10,000, extra $100,000, whatever the number is, right? Or I could give them an experience that then informs their perspective on life.
Yep.
And that, to me, that richness is really interesting. So when they come home and they talk about, we were talking about this in school, and then I could talk about my experience doing that thing or being there. It made the thing real. And I found that many people don't have exposure to the experiences that would allow them to make great choices. Like, absent of everything else, money, getting more, it's one of my pet peeves. More is the answer in lieu of having some wisdom or knowledge or experience to inform that enough is plenty.
Mm-hmm.
I've got connection to R360, which is a peer mentorship group that focuses on centimillionaires. And when I talk to those guys, it's just like exactly what you said. I want my kids to want to be around me when they're wise enough to actually understand where we really are in life. Right? Like, you can be poor as a kid and be totally oblivious. You can be rich as a kid and be totally oblivious. Once you've gone to college and you're kind of working, you begin to really notice the differences just through the experience. And to be that wealthy, you mentioned billionaire earlier, it changes perspective. And some people are like, oh yeah, folks are entitled this, that, or a third. The fact of the matter is, like, I don't think you ever get more than what you believe you deserve. Like, I just haven't found the world to be that generous where it's just bestowing things upon you because you're a great person. Like, 100%. If you don't have the courage to negotiate or ask, then like you just kind of get whatever is left over.
100%. That's so true.
And, you're being a sales guy, right? So you live that every single day. I gotta ask, like, what was it about the consultancy that wasn't like, it didn't like butter the bread for you? Because I see you smile when you talk about sales, so it's not interest in the subject. What is it about that didn't like work?
I think it was maybe a bit of an offering that I didn't fully believe in. I think it was I think it worked. It helped a little bit, but it didn't make a really big impact. So I never hung my hat on it with pride. And it has potential, and I think it's getting there now, and that I'm removed from it. I think that is so, I mean, there's so many lessons in that. If you don't believe in what you're doing as a salesperson, good luck. I mean, you got to believe.
Yeah, I think the person that has the most confidence or belief is the one that walks away with the deal. It's funny you bring that up, the impact thing, because we talk about work with four I's, right? Impact, influence, interest, and income. And if impact isn't there, we see people who live in integrity and authenticity, which is what I believe you to be, they run away from it. It's like they want to get away from it as quickly as possible because it's out of alignment,
Yeah.
right? It's like there's something wrong here. I'm not sure how to fix it. I need to do something I believe in, especially since I only get one shot at it. So I appreciate your transparency there because I know there's a listener out there who's saying the same thing about their business, but because it pays, they continue to do the thing. And often when we're helping founders with their exit, we have that conversation with them because they think, oh, when I get to the liquidity event, it's cool. I get the finish line, it's done. And they're like, oh, yeah, that was my legacy. And I was like, well, for many people, I'm like, is it? Like, were you really placed on the planet to do that?
Yeah.
Is that is that the impact that you were supposed to make on the world? And when we start pulling back the layers, 10 times out of 10, people are like, no, those weren't my people. That wasn't my problem, but I found something that worked, right? I found something that's kicked off income. And because I figured out how to kick off income, I kept turning the wheel and it kept printing the money and I kept
Yep.
turning the wheel. And so then we get to the place of saying, well, what is it that you're really supposed to do? Because now you're free,
Yep.
right? Like, if you guys sold your company today, like, you'd be work optional. Like, that's a big number, right?
For sure.
And out of curiosity, man, like, what's the goal? Like, is it just build it as big as possible, or is there like a trajectory you're on?
Yeah, I mean, um, we want to build something really big, and we got gas in the tank. I'm only 40, my wife's 36, so like, I think we definitely want to see this AI window through. There's a window of opportunity right now to do some wild, wild stuff. So we're gonna do that for sure because it's too fun. You're exactly right. We could have walked years ago and really, never really had to work again. Um, but like to your point, what I can only play so much golf. Like okay, if we are in the elevator, I heard this story one time, Jerome. This is why we do what we do now. Guy said, "Hey, I just sold my business, $100 million cash deal. They don't want me as a part of the sale, so I'm out." I left the boardroom, signed all the paperwork, got in the elevator, and rode the elevator down New York City. It was the loneliest elevator ride of my life.
Yeah.
And I was like, why? What do you mean? He's like, I had no one to high five. Like it was just cool. My bank account's full. I'm still gonna go down the street and have lunch at Chipotle. Like, how different is your life? Like, what now? So we really are kind of living life for that. Of like, how can we, when something does happen here eventually, how can we throw the coolest party of all time? That look at all the lives that were changed because of that. That's cooler to me than this lump. I mean, listen, the money in the bank account's gonna be awesome too. Obviously, you're lying if you say it's not. But how fun is that? That memory.
Yeah. Yeah. We spend so many times with founders in that space, and we warn them, right? It's anticlimactic. It might last through the weekend if you get it on Friday. Um, and maybe there's a new house, maybe there's a watch, maybe there's a car, maybe there's a bag. Like, depending on whatever the thing is, right? You do it because you've always wanted to do it, and you don't feel like you don't have to be as disciplined as you were in the past. But it very quickly comes back to, does my life matter, or what can I do to make my life matter? And so it's really amazing to watch you and your wife play full out, man, and living the the experience. You
Yeah.
know, there's a whole lot of people who just do the same thing over and over again, right? And then there are people who actually live the experience.
Yeah.
Um, and I see you doing that, and the focus on impacting other lives and helping people actually achieve their goals as it is in alignment with the overall goals you have is special as well. Um, Man, we've covered a lot of ground, Josh. Like, this turned out to be a really exciting episode for me because very rarely do you find people who have the level of transparency you have, and even being willing to share the stories to demonstrate what resilience looks like. Um, what would you want the listeners to take away from this episode if they had to pick
Hmm.
one thing as the go away message?
I would say, we've talked about a lot of different versions of alignment. I think, your spine's out of alignment, you go to the chiropractor because your life is hard when you got back pain. And I think everyone's feeling a version of that back pain in their life, so I would just challenge people, you know, we don't have everything figured out. We're still on a journey to get better every day. But something we have figured out is that our priorities are straight and money's not going to lead us. Business isn't going to lead us. I think there's something to be learned there of sit down with a pen and paper and figure out what's really most important to you in life and live this go the 70-year run, the 100-year run, not just this quarter, this month, this year, which is tempting to do. That would be my final thought.
Yeah. Follow the North Star, man. Find your star and chase that star. It'll get you there, even if you don't know exactly how to do it. Well said, my friend. Josh, thank you so much for
Yeah, man.
joining
Thanks for
us
having me
on
out. It
the
was awesome.
podcast.
I enjoyed it.
To our listeners, your dreams should be real. We'll catch you on the next episode.